Hi, family and friends. Joseph Hare here. I am coming to you after having had an interesting conversation with a few individuals who had attempted to and had an interest in pursuing their SPHR. In that discussion, they seemed surprised when I told them that I, thank God, was successfully able to uh, take and pass the SPHR certification test on the first attempt. And as they had been discussing how so many individuals are intimidated by the complexity of the SPHR exam, that oftentimes they just do not pursue it. And these are professionals who work in the human resource industry and would like to pursue higher and greater opportunities that often do have an SPHR certification as a requirement to pursue. And typically, these are jobs that are in the mid upper level HR positions. It's much you can be more competitive, I'll say, if you have an SPHR than not having one. To get into the mid to upper management positions in HR. And so, what I decided to do is to just share five particular points, maybe take about 15 minutes or so here, to share what it is that I was able to do that I think was very key in helping me to successfully take and pass the SPHR certification on the first attempt. What I'm going to do is address the methods in association with what it is that really you should kind of think about as you're preparing to really get serious about progressing in the HR field in your career if you're a career HR person. The test is not easy. Let me not give the implication before I get started here that the SPHR exam is a simple test. It is 140 questions. At least this is the test that I took. I believe all the tests are basically about the same. They're about 140 questions, and you get about 150 minutes to complete the examination. And the information on the exam covers almost every aspect, nuance-wise, within the human resource body of knowledge. And I'm going to show you the human resource body of knowledge textbook in a few minutes. But you don't know really what is going to be on the exam. But what is on the exam is drawn from any aspect of what you cover in the human resource body of knowledge. And so it's important to really think about what it is that I'm going to share with you and not underestimate or take lightly the need to prepare for the SPHR certification. But as I said, I did what I'm about to share with you, and I was successful in passing the certification exam on the first attempt. Again, many do not, and just being honest, many have told me that they have their SPHR and it took them 2, 3, or 4 times to pass the certification. And so they were really pleased to hear that I passed it on the first time. But then I shared some things that I did, and it was a little different than their approach. So I said, well, let me just share this with anybody who may find it useful, who are in the human resource or trying to or planning to go into the human resource industry. And so let me first just tell you or show you the human resource body of knowledge. This textbook, published by the HRCI, HRCI is one of the main, most recognized human resource credentialing agencies, and you have SHRM and you have HRCI, and so they're like the two most popular. HRCI has been around longer than SHRM, but this is the human resource body of knowledge. It's a pretty very well prepared book, I think. As you can see, it has quite a bit of information contained within it. Don't get too intimidated by the thickness, because the book is, I think, very exhaustive, but it also is as thick as it is because they take their time to give you a lot of nuance associated with all the different aspects of human resource subject matter. So it's not like page after page after page of just a bunch of words. Sometimes you have graphics in there. Sometimes you have you have cartoons that are in there that are representing scenarios, and then what they're doing is attempting to illustrate through these little cartoons a concept that you should have just got through understanding when you read whatever particular chapter it is. And sometimes with the quantifications, sometimes in some of the chapters, there are actually formulas and computations that you have to make and calculations you have to make. And so some of the pages, they're not like completely populated with nothing but words. And so even though it's a thick book, and it does have a lot of information, it's not a heavy read. Like a novel or something, and so so there is a very good source, and I do encourage. Well, you probably have to obtain this book if you pursue certification to prepare, but don't feel intimidated by the size of the book. It's a great resource for individuals who love human resources in the way that I do. And so let me just jump right in. I have 5 particular points that I wrote down here that I thought and hope will be very useful for you who are pursuing the SPHR. Let me first again say who I am. My name is Joseph Hare. I'm the owner and founder of Hare Holdings Limited Liability Corporation, which was licensed out of the state of Texas. I presently live in the Pacific Northwest right now, but my company is still licensed in the state of Texas. We have 3 distinct DBAs that we operate under. Apricor Busco is the DBA that I operate under for my consulting, business consulting, moral messages. A lot of you possibly, hopefully, have seen my advertisements for my e-commerce page, moralmessages.com. That is the product-based division that we have. That's the DBA that we operate under for our product division, Moral Messages. And then I have the other DBA, the Message Man. The Message Man DBA is the umbrella that I provide entrepreneurial opportunities and mentorship and sourcing for individuals who have an aspiration to get into some type of entrepreneurial work, but they really not really sure what they could do or want to do. And so oftentimes I utilize that division, the Message Man, as an approach to helping individuals pursue entrepreneurial opportunities who may not have specifically sure what it is that they want to do. And it's a product-based entrepreneurial opportunity that I present through the Message Man. And so, again, I'm Joseph Hare, and those are the organizations that I operate under for all of my self-employment and on-the-side type work. But overall, I'm an operations and organizational management expert. I've been in operations and organizational management since 1988. I have had great opportunities to provide service to small and large organizations, for-profit, nonprofit organizations, government organizations, NGOs. I've had a privilege of serving a lot of organizations, and so I do provide W-2 work, and if there's ever a place or a way that I could be of service to you or help to you in a W-2 environment or a 1099 environment, feel free to look me up. LinkedIn, I have a very robust LinkedIn profile. Not on Instagram a lot, but I do have participation on Instagram. And so let me now just jump right into the real purpose of this video. And so again, I'm going to try to keep this within a 15-minute block. So step number 1 is I enrolled in the City University of Seattle. Again, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. The City University of Seattle is a great university here in Seattle. They have a wonderful 10-week test prep online course. Specifically for individuals who want to obtain their PHR or SPHR. Again, SPHR is the Senior Professional in Human Resource Certification. PHR is a Professional Human Resource Certification. PHR is for individuals who just want to have more competitiveness on maybe the lower HR, more entry-level type HR positions as far as coming in. And then the SPHR is typically individuals who already have years of experience and background and even education, like myself. I hold a master's degree in organizational management with a specialization in human resource management. One of my master's degrees is in that. And I've had years of HR experience. So you have to actually qualify to be able to take a SPHR certification exam. And so you have to have education in HR and years of experience, but jump on their website and they'll help you to understand what it is that you'll need. But you're going to need experience and education in HR in order to sit for the SPHR. But the PHR doesn't have those requirements as much so. And so I suggest, first of all, enrolling in this particular test prep program. It was just a great online test prep source for me. And so I strongly suggest it. The website for City University of Seattle is www.cityu.edu, and it's just city, CITY, the letter U for university, cityu.edu. And so the website, and then there's a telephone number, 206 239 4730, that will put you in touch with the individuals who can give you information on how you can look further into their 10-week test prep online course at City University of Seattle. The program costs about $1,200 or so for the program itself, and then there's separate fees once you get to the point where you're ready to actually take the certification test. There's separate costs for that. So step one that I did was I enrolled in that online course, and I completed that 10-week online course, which was awesome. Step number two, once you actually get into that course, engage your professor on a weekly basis. And again, each thing that I'm going to share with you are the things that I did that I believe helped me to be as successful as I was in taking and passing the test on the first attempt. And so I engaged my professor every week. We had a session on a weekly basis, half hour, sometime 45 minutes. That he and I talked, and most of what we talked about was just kind of having a general discussion, kind of like a fireside chat per se, about what it is that was covered in whatever particular chapters were assigned for each particular week. So like I said, it's a 10-week course. And so you have about 15 or 16 chapters that you have to go through. And so having this, it's the weekly syllabus that you go through, having a weekly meeting with your professor really helps, because the conversations that I had, and my professor's name was Dr. Larry Frazier. He has a PhD and years and multiple certifications, just a brilliant gentleman. And very passionate about he has a real love for human resources. You could clearly tell he just rolls out with information and explanations and situations and examples, and he was so powerful in helping me to further expand on what it is that I need to understand about the subject matter that we're covering in each week, because you got to understand the theory of it and the practicality of it. And so having those weekly discussions with him on whatever we were covering on that particular chapter, or any questions that I had, he was willing to engage me on that. And just that conversation, it helps you to bring to life what it is that you studied, and it allows you in that dialogue to kind of helps reinforce your memory of what it is you covered. And so I strongly suggest engaging your professor on a weekly basis. And the professor that I had, Dr. Larry Frazier, I believe you can request him specifically. I think if you contact the school, City University of Seattle, and about their 10-week online course, if you say, hey, is Dr. Larry Frazier available to teach? And if he is, can I get into his course? He's awesome. Very smart, and just great, down to earth, easy to talk to, really masters the HR paradigm, and he works as an expert in that field right now. So he has traditional views and contemporary views. He has a well-balanced handle on the HR life or the HR world. So that is step two. Number three, go ahead and download all of the vocabulary as provided in your course syllabus. Proceed with studying those words, even though it looks like that they're designated for each week. I do not suggest doing that. This is the way I found very, very helpful. Instead of just downloading them on a week-by-week basis, when you get in, download all the vocabulary words. Go into each week on the syllabus, and then select the assigned vocabulary words for that particular week, and go ahead and download that. Do that for week 1, week 2, all the way through week 10. Go ahead and download all of the vocabulary words, even though they might be separated based upon chapters, and just go through. Just start reading them. Start reading them, all of them. Not every day. I mean, just start with chapter 1. Go ahead through those. Start with chapter 2. Go and just keep doing that over and over, all the way through all of the vocabulary for all of the chapters. Don't hold off from week to week. Just go through. Any time you have of the day or of the week, grab those words and go through them. If you stop at chapter 8, just pick up from there and go right on through, and just keep cycling through all those vocabulary words, and just keep doing that throughout the whole 10 weeks. When you get through all the words, start over from the top. Recycle, go through, read the word, read the definitions, or read the explanations. Keep doing that as much as you can throughout the whole 10 weeks. And again, download all the vocabulary for the entire 10-week course up front, and then just start going through. Do that regularly. Have a block amount of time that you have every day, or whatever you do for your study time, however you structure your study time. Have that time set aside just to go through vocabulary, and just go through, keep going through, and then sometimes you may want to read 2 chapters of vocabulary or 2 weeks of vocabulary, whatever, but just keep going through them and over again. And that really helped me quite a bit, repeatedly cycling through the words, even if you get to the point where you feel that they have been memorized, if you feel like, okay, I think I got this, and maybe you're in week 7 or something, don't do that. Keep cycling those words, because the interesting way that the test presents a lot of these words, you cannot take for granted that you're going to be able to comfortably recognize the right definition of a word from the way that they present the wording of the other options. It's a multiple choice in most situations. Any little word will cause you to say, that sounds right too. See, so you don't want to assume that you're going to automatically be able to recognize, because they word those options in the multiple choice in a way where, even though there's a right one, you got to make sure you have every word in that definition understood, and so that you can completely remember, this is the right one, that's wrong because of this, that's wrong because of this, that's wrong because of that. You have to be able to identify what makes an answer wrong, so that you make sure you have the answer that's right. And that's why going through those vocabulary words, getting it so that you are really, really able to distinguish the right definition from the wrong definition, because they're really crafty in the way that they put those options in there. But like I said, I passed it on the first attempt, so you can do it. But don't take for granted. Go through those vocabulary words. Number 4, read the entire HR body of knowledge. Don't just skim or skip through or read the first page of each chapter or the last page. Somebody told me when you read the first and the last page, you pretty much got the gist of what that chapter is about. You'd be a fool if you did that for this human resource body of knowledge. Do not do that. Read every word. I have some pages, the entire page highlighted, because when you read through, that information is so key. It's like you find yourself highlighting everything. I like highlighting because as I'm highlighting it, first I read it, and then I go back and I highlight what it is that stood out to me in that page. And there are times I highlight the whole thing. And when I'm highlighting it, that highlighting even helps me to imprint that information in my mind. And so read the entire book. Don't skip around, and don't take it lightly. And so again, this is number 4. Read the entire HR body of knowledge. Make sure to highlight core principles. And again, this is the HRCI, Human Resource Body of Knowledge. In this, it's like, I hate to say it this way as a Christian, but they call this the Bible of HR. So this definitely is your body of knowledge. If you remember, if any of you are project managers, you have the PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge. I did study project management as well, and I have the PM body of knowledge. And so this is similar. It's the human resource body of knowledge, and it's a great book. And then lastly, and I think I'm getting close to my 15-20 minute mark, I think, as you're reading the HR body of knowledge, associate the principles covered with actual work experiences. This helps with capturing the practical point of the theory. I'm going to say that one again. This is my 5th point. As you read the body of knowledge, the HR book of knowledge, body of knowledge, associate the principles that you're covering as you're reading through with actual work experiences. This helps you capture the practical points of the theory. Now, again, I've been in HR for a while. I've even done labor relations, mediation, class action litigations. I've dealt with a lot of HR and labor relations and employment relations issues. And so as I was reading through some of these books, some of the concepts, when I was reading through, it kind of helped me. I started recalling experiences that I had in my professional career that associated with what it was I was reading. And so by doing that, the concept that they were presenting in the theories that they had there, it was actually helping me to take it from just theory into practical concept. And so by doing that, it allowed me to kind of have a deeper imprint of the principles that I was studying, especially when you get into labor issues, because the exam, there's multiple scenarios that you have to read. And then once you read the scenario, they have questions that reflect on the scenario. And the scenarios are coming from real situations that you could experience. And it's up to you to remember what it is the HR body of knowledge says you're supposed to do when dealing with a particular situation. And so it's important, if you kind of already have had that preparation of thinking and taking the theories that you read and begin to just imagine them from situations that you've had that resemble or relate to what it is that you're covering in that particular theory or whatever concept you're studying at that particular time. It really helps with kind of like bringing to life the principles and the theories that you're covering. And so this is going to be really, really helpful in helping to just really imprint the information on your mind, helps you to remember it, helps you to recall it, helps you with your practical thinking on how to apply these principles. They're really good at giving you situations. And in every situation, they explain to you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and why. So it's a really, really great book. It's still important that you get all this. See, a person can explain something perfectly, but if you're not taking the time to make sure you're taking it in concept, but then you're also getting that practical imaginative experience going as well, then that really makes it a lot easier for you to have it fresh in your mind and have it rolling around in the way that you think. And then when you see a situation on the test, you're like, oh yeah, I remember what this was. It kind of brings back those memories, and it'll allow you then to better understand what will be the best answer when you're having to make a choice as to which would be the best answer for this particular scenario. And then, of course, with the computing, there weren't a lot of calculating questions where I had to actually bring out the calculator. Maybe about three or four. There was about 3 or 4 or 5 that I had to actually do some calculations and things like that. Because, of course, if you're in HR, labor, there's a lot of mathematical and numerical computations that you have to make when you're dealing with all aspects of resource planning or strategizing on designing a compensation plan or something of that nature, or even negotiating on a settlement, a financial settlement. You know, sometimes you have to just have different comfort areas of not sometimes even creating formulas that you can use to compute some type of output that would allow you to bring a solution to some problem, especially if it has anything to do with creating compensation, like how much of an hourly rate you're going to offer or a salary you're going to offer for a particular position that you're developing, or possibly creating a scenario that would justify a settlement offer. If you're in a labor relations type of settlement situation, you need to know how do you create a number that you can offer as a solution. That stuff doesn't just pop out of your head. You have to have a way of quantifying that information, and you have to use real information, real data that you integrate with one another to create a formula that will allow you to produce a number that you can then present as an option. And so I create formulas for various different situations where there isn't any type of numerical approach to addressing a problem. So there are times you just have to know what data to pull together to create sources for numbers that you can correlate together to create a particular number that you'll need in order to bring about a solution. And so that sounds a little complex, but if you're an HR person, then you kind of know what I'm talking about anyway. So this is what it is that I'm suggesting. I'm going to go through just real quick. Looks like we're at 23 minutes and 52 seconds here, looking at my clock. So I went beyond 15, but hopefully you stay with me on this, and the information has been engaging enough for us to go about another minute or two. All right, but we're almost done. So I'm going to go through real quick. This is for the SPHR certification examination. This is some suggestions that I suggest that will help you, and because it definitely helped me to master and pass the certification exam on the first attempt. That's what I was able to do. Thank God for that. And hopefully you'll have the same experience if you do these 5 things. Enroll with the City University of Seattle's 10-week test prep online course. It costs about $1,200 or so. Telephone number for their office is 206-239-4730. Their website is www.cityu, and that the letter U, cityu.edu. 2, engage your professor on a weekly basis, at least once per week. I definitely suggest Dr. Larry Frazier. He's awesome. He is on the staff, the team there at City University, and he provides remote learning. It's an online training course, and so he's great. Number 3, download all the vocabulary for the entire course as provided in the syllabus, and go ahead and start going through and orienting yourself with those vocabulary words. Just start from the first one, go straight on through, and just keep doing that over and over for the whole batch of vocabulary words that you're going to have. There's a lot of them. And then you'll really, really, really appreciate having done that when it comes down to take the test. And then number 4, read the entire human resource body of knowledge, the book. Make sure to do your highlights in the book. And yes, it's a beautiful book. And I mean, this is going to be a great resource for me. And so read the entire book and do the highlighting. And number 5, as you read the human resource body of knowledge, associate the principles that you're covering with practical experiences that you've actually experienced maybe on your job. It really helps you with harnessing those concepts and helping you to remember when you get into the scenario-based questions on the certification exam. Again, the exam's about 140 questions. You have about 150 minutes to finish it, and they're very strict with your testing time when you're online. I took my test online. I had a proctor, and that proctor, they had to use cameras. They had to use my camera to look at the entire area where I was taking my test. They make sure you don't have a book that you can open, a laptop or a phone that you can use to try to cheat and get questions. You have to hold your camera in a way they can see so they can look at the entire area where you're taking the test live. They're live. They're telling me to hold my camera, and they said, turn it to the left, turn it to the right, turn it around the front of the desk, go to the back of the desk. What do you have on the left side of the desk? They had to make sure that there was nothing around me that could help me take that test. You cannot have anything on your desk. You cannot have anything, but they let me have a bottle of water. And you don't even need a calculator, because the calculator is in the testing system. You just click on it and it'll bring the calculator up on the screen. So they don't even let you have a calculator. I had a stapler that I accidentally left on my desk, and they were like, "What is that?" I said, "It's a stapler." I had to hold it up to the camera, and he said, "Remove it." Everything. So it's okay, but I didn't think it was going to be that particular. So I ended up having to just make sure I had to make some adjustments to my desk area where I was actually taking the proctored exam, to make sure nothing was in the area that might help me to, they were trying to make sure you don't cheat. And I think it's great to be fair, because it's a tough certification, and they shouldn't make it easy for people to get. Human resources and all of the nuances associated with human resources, and human resources is a very complex industry. There's a lot that is at risk. If you have a person who's an HR manager or a director of HR, and they are not sure what they're doing, they are not masters, quote unquote, of what they're doing, because there's so much risk. If you got an HR person who is not fulfilling that duty on par, within policy, within principle, within law, with equity, there's so many things that come into place that could end up causing a company to face a significant financial risk if they do something wrong in the realm of HR or labor relations or employee relations or human resources. So it's important. And so I'll stop here. I really hope that all of you, whoever sees this, will benefit from what I've shared, and much success to you in your HR career.